Hey, what's up? John Sonmez here from simpleprogrammer.com. So I'm finally back from my European trip, finally back in San Diego after a nice fiasco with the missing a flight and then staying an extra day in England. And then a nice, 10.5 hour flight to Vancouver, 5 hour layover, over 3 hour flight to LA, 2 hour cab ride to San Diego. But I got up this morning bright and early and went for my run. Did about a 10-mile run. I'm actually starting to train now for some half marathons I've got coming up. So I'm now no longer doing the long, slow distances, but now I'm sort of up in the speed on these. So I've been doing some sort of pacer miles and hitting it hard on some of the miles. So we'll see what happens. I think I've got enough of an aerobic base. My goal is really to hit like a 1:45 half marathon, which might be a little bit difficult since I don't have a huge amount of time to train, and I did gain quite a bit of weight while I was on the trip. Actually, a lot of muscle mass stuff, so it's all good. Anyway, that's not what I want to talk about today. What I want to talk about today is something I was thinking about a lot, which is directly relevant to recording these videos, especially as I'm traveling, especially as I'm on the street and whatnot, which is fully committing to an action, and how the difference between doing that is the difference between being awkward and not, essentially. And you can see that a lot in some of my videos. You can tell when I'm fully committed or when I'm like, okay, I'm kind of whispering and I'm kind of like, all right guys, so I'm just like, do a video. You see what I'm saying? Like, there's a huge difference between going all out and fully committing. And I was thinking about this as I was listening to an audiobook. I'll do a review, and I can't remember what the name of it is now, but anyway, here's sort of an analogy for you to start this off. So think of it this way, as and you've done this before, right? Because we've all done this before. Let's say that you had to leap across. I remember as a kid, okay, I used to live in South Carolina, and there was this big ditch that you had to get across in order to get into the woods, where there was this like Indian graveyard and whatnot that we used to go and hang out and scare each other. And in order to get across this ditch, sometimes there would be like a little bridge across, but then the guys that were building the houses, they would take that bridge. Oh. All right, still recording. All right. So they would take that bridge, and we'd have to sort of jump across, right? And so there's times when when I would try to jump across this bridge, and what I would do is I wouldn't be sure that I could make it. So I'd sort of like half jump across the bridge. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't fully commit to the jump because I wasn't sure if I'm going to make it. So you kind of take a stutter run, up to the bridge, and then you barely. What's up, man?
What's up,
How you doing, buddy?
Good, man. How's it going?
Just recording a YouTube video. This is my my buddy here. I see him all the time around.
It's Tommy.
We got the nice. All right, man.
Really.
Take care. All right, so let's see. I guess this is right there. Run across here. So anyway, so I would sometimes do like a half commit, and I would run up, like I said, stutter at the bridge or at the jump, and then if you're not giving it your all, right, that's your worst chance. Like, you're most likely to fall in. And so I'd take that little leap, and I'd kind of like back out last minute. You know what I mean? And then you fall right into the mud, right into the ditch. And there'd be other times where, I knew I could make it, and I would just give it all, 100% commit to it, and leap. And you got to make that choice, right? It's like so many times when you're not willing to make that choice, if you're not willing to commit to it 100%, you do that like stutter jump, right? Where you're going for it, but at the last minute you back out, and it'd be better if you didn't jump at all, right? You're almost guaranteed to fall into the pit when you do that. And so it's such an important lesson, right? It's so critical. So many things that you're doing, when you don't fully commit, you end up in the pit. You end up in the ditch because you're not putting it all in. Whereas if you put it all in, it doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to succeed, but it's going to give you the best chance. But it's hard to do that because your psychology, right? Your mind is wired. You get this fear. You're like, oh, what if I can't make it? And you're like, well, I need to need to be able to back out. It's the same kind of concept, like the burning the bridges concept. It's a larger concept, right, at a bigger level for making decisions in life, right? That's like, you know, when you're gonna make a big decision, you got to burn the bridges and fully commit to the course of action. But this is like at the micro moment. This is like in the moment, right? So this could be, like I said, recording a video. Am I fully committed? Am I like, okay, I hope, you know, I'm just gonna try and record this video, I hope no one sees me. Or, right, like today, you know, obviously I have to up my game because I'm like, well, I'm going to be talking about being fully committed. So I better be fully committed, right? Same thing with, you know, you guys, right? I talk about this all the time. Okay, you know, social interactions, right? If you are going up and you're talking to people and you're not fully committed, like you're basically like, well, I'm gonna like say hi and introduce myself and hopefully it goes well, and you're coming up shy and awkward, the chance of it not going well, right, is very, very high. You're leaping, but you're at the last minute before you're about to leap across that ditch. Okay, you're bailing out, right? You're trying to give yourself a way out, and you're not fully committing. Whereas if you're fully committing, then you just go for it. You're like, I don't care what happens, I'm just going to go for it, right? That's fully committing. Another one would be, you know, for example, actually the book I was listening to, the audio was talking about this example, but it was like, and I've been here, right? Have you ever been to karaoke, right? So it doesn't matter how good the person sounds. I mean, yeah, to some degree, but for the most part, that's not the really important thing. What's really important is not how good they sound, it's how much they commit to the thing. So someone could be singing karaoke, right? And they could sound horrible, but they're fully committing to it, right? To the performance, as horrible as it is, and they're giving it their all, right? And so they don't seem awkward or silly because they're fully committing. Again, same thing I could say with me recording videos. If I'm walking down the street, I might look a little bit silly recording a video, but if I'm actually talking to the camera and I'm actually not caring, right, and I'm fully committing to the action I'm doing, it looks fine, right? But if I'm awkward because I'm not sure, because I'm like, oh, I don't really want people to see me recording on the camera or walking down the street, I'm gonna look awkward, and I'm gonna fail. Let's talk about the same thing on the dance floor again, right? How many of you, if you go to a nightclub or something, you go onto the dance floor, and I've done this before, right? We've all done this, right? In some way, some aspect, might not be this specific one, but how many of you gone onto the dance floor and you're like kind of like bopping your head, kind of like sort of half dancing, right? You look like an awkward fool. Even if you didn't know how to dance, but you see this crazy guy that has no idea how to dance and he's just going for it because he doesn't care, right? There you go, fully committing, right? Now, if you got the skills and you fully commit, that's even better. But see, the problem is that the places where, well, two things. One, the places where you have the skills, it's easier to fully commit, okay? Because you got confidence, right? In those cases, fully committing is a lot easier, okay? So that's number one. So fully committing in places where you don't have the confidence, that's harder, and that's what I'm talking about. But that's where it's critical, and this is why point two is because in order to build the confidence, okay, you have to fully commit. Because when you give half-ass, right, when you're like, see, and this is why a lot of you practice some things and you don't grow, right? Again, I did a lot of videos on the street, and there were some times where I didn't grow, and I told you about this on camera before, and you've seen it, and you've seen regressions and whatnot. But if you just doing it, right, for you guys out there, just talking to a girl, it's not enough. You gotta fully commit and give it your all. You gotta be like, I'm going for it. You understand what I'm saying? That's the big difference, is going for it. Same thing, recording videos, going for it. When you fully commit to those things that scare you and give it the 100%, then you get the growth. Then you get the experience, then you gain the confidence. But when you half-ass it, when you give yourself a way out, when you're like, I didn't really put my all into it, I did it, and that's your only requirement, is I did it, you're falling into the ditch. You're not gonna gain much experience, you're not gonna grow much from it. It's not gonna be worth it. So remember, if you're gonna do it, just fully commit, and like I said, you're gonna look less dumb, less like an idiot, less like whatever you wanna call it, like a retard. If you fully commit, then you will. If you're hesitating, right? You may still be embarrassed, you may feel still a little bit awkward, but people's perception of you, right? The perception of the person that's fully committed is always better. It's better. I mean, if you're gonna go and yell and sing and be crazy person, do it with reckless abandon. But if you do it like sort of self-conscious, oh man, you're definitely gonna get it, right? If you're gonna wear an outlandish outfit, wear it like you own it. Own that shit, right? Rock it. If you're not, don't do it, because you're gonna draw so much negative attention to you by virtue of it. So anyway, that's all I got for you today. Okay. All right. If you like this video, if you haven't subscribed already, make sure you click that subscribe button below. We're on the way to 200,000 subscribers now. So click the bell so you don't miss any videos. And remember, fully commit or just don't do it. There you go. All right. I'll talk to you next time. Take care.